Hi there, around this time of year, weather permitting, I like to take my structured training sessions from indoors on the turbo to outdoors, making good use of my road bike's power meter. If doing structured training outdoors is something that you would like to try, then stick around for some useful hints and tips. First off, you might well be asking, why bother with outdoor sessions, especially if you've invested in an all singing, all dancing setup at home? I think that there are several good reasons, perhaps most important being specificity. A well-designed training plan should increase in specificity the closer you get to your goal events. When compared to sessions on a static bike doing some of your training outdoors, it is a lot closer to what you're training for, i.e. riding a bike outdoors. Due to things such as varying terrain and other factors, you will need to compromise on the precision that your indoor setup affords you. You probably won't be able to hold such a precise percentage of FTP outdoors, but don't let that put you off. It's one of the reasons why we have zones to operate within. You'll still be getting all the physiological adaptations associated with each zone, along with a few more that you don't get from a static bike, such as muscle recruitment patterns specific to riding outdoors. So just keep in mind that although you will be probably sacrificing some precision, you will very much be gaining in terms of specificity. Secondly, I personally find outdoor training far more engaging than sitting on the trainer. But even if you prefer the comfort, or should I say discomfort, of your pain cave, then the change in scenery at certain times of year is still no bad thing. Thirdly, there's a good chance that you'll need to ride to and from your preferred stretch of road where you'll perform your intervals, so the bonus TSS that you will accrue is not to be sniffed at. So now let's take a look at a few things that might make your outdoor sessions that little bit more successful. First off, remember that you are training to power and not to speed. If, like me, you have to use a rolling road for your training loop for some of your longer zone 4 intervals, then the little inclines will feel easy because you will need to back off the power a tad in order to keep it consistent. Whereas the flats will require focus and the little downhills will be insane. It is quite different to how you often ride with your mates when you push hard on the inclines but coast down the declines. So it's almost the opposite sensation, but stick with it and don't expect to get it dialed in on the first couple of attempts. Here's a power file from one of my outdoor 2x20 minute sessions. You can clearly see where the efforts are and the effect on the heart rate. My variability index was just 1%, so I managed to produce a pretty smooth and consistent effort. Secondly, negative splitting might also be your friend. For those who don't know what a negative split is, it's where the second half of the event is faster than the first half. You can apply this technique to both the individual intervals themselves, where you will start at the lower end of your target range or zone and then increase for the second half. You could also apply this to the whole session, basically pacing it well and not blowing yourself up on the first 2 or 3 intervals. Enlisting a training partner is also great for motivation and adds a nice social element. Depending on the session, you don't necessarily need to be at the same level of fitness as one another. As an example, I've often done 3-minute hill reps with a friend or two where we ride easy as a warm-up to our chosen hill. Once there, we use the lap time on our head units for the efforts, so the stronger folk will simply go further up the hill for their 3 minutes. We also stagger our start time. So if there's just 2 of us, then the stagger is equal to the interval duration. The result being that as one person is climbing, the other person will pass them on their recovery going back down the hill and can offer some words of encouragement.
Go, Frank, go!
Don't chase averages. This should always be the case on the indoor trainer, but due to the more stochastic nature of your power outdoors, it makes it a far easier trap to fall into when doing outdoor sessions. If you do set off too hard or even too easy, then let go and just focus on making each and every second better than the last one, because it's time in zone that counts over and above averages. By all means, have the average power displayed, but use that merely as a guide alongside your live power, which leads us nicely onto what data fields to have displayed on your head unit. On the Wahoo, this screen appears once you press the lap timer button. Working from top to bottom and left to right, first off, I have my current power with 5 seconds smoothing, which is displayed large. I like having current power prominent because time in zone is more important and beneficial than chasing an average. Below left of that, I have the average power for the current lap. I use this mainly as a guide reference point, ideally keeping the live and average power about the same, but with live power taking precedence. To the right of that is my current percentage of FTP, which saves you having to memorise your wattage range for each training zone. I've often thought of using the percentage of FTP for my live and lap average fields, but haven't yet gotten round to giving it a try. Perhaps I should, and if I do, I'll report back, as it does seem more logical. The next row is elapsed time, which resets to 0 every time you press the lap button on the head unit, which is what I do at the start and end of each effort, so that I can also time the recovery valleys as well. To the right of that, I have my current heart rate. Finally, I have my cadence and heart rate zone. I'll now round off with just 1 or 2 suggestions as to some very basic outdoor sessions to get you started. And in all honesty, you probably won't find that you need to get any more complex than these. Hill reps are a bit of a go-to, as they're simple to execute, and depending on the size of the hills that you've got access to, they can be used for sessions which target different training zones. And you don't have to go all the way to the top. Using your lap timer instead is what I'd suggest. You can do the classic 3 mins at upper zone 5 with 3-minute recoveries on a relatively short climb. On something slightly longer, you might be able to fit in 5 to 6 minutes at mid-zone 5 with 3 or 4 minute recoveries. Zone 6 repeats with a corresponding greater recovery to work ratio are also another option. Adjusting the recovery time and tweaking the power output can also alter the physiological adaptations of a session. If you've got access to a longer gradual climb, then 3x15 or 2x20 minute efforts in zone 4 are also a possibility. If not, then a relatively long, uninterrupted section of flat to rolling road with left-hand turns, if you're in the UK, will suffice for those sessions. I've got a local loop which is almost rectangular in shape and ideal for 10 to 12 minutes efforts around 3 sides of it, with the 4th side used for the recovery valley. If you're doing longer zone 4 efforts with a friend, then do be sure to leave a decent gap between yourselves, as you don't want to end up drafting one another. One last tip, if you haven't got a power meter, you can still effectively train to power on your hill reps by simply putting a marker in the ground, for example a twig or a stone, and then making sure that you reach this within your target time on each repetition. So I hope this video has inspired you to give structured outdoor sessions a go, especially if you've got a power meter on your bike but you haven't yet used it in this way before. If you've got any favourite outdoor sessions that you like, then please do share them in the comments section below. And don't forget to give my video a like, subscribe to my channel and tell your friends about it. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.